Just 2 weeks of the NFL schedule has been played, yet the storylines for each and every team seem endless. We're here to discuss all the biggest ones moving forward. We are going to examine each and every 2-0 team, and we are going to break down whether or not they are a contender or at least a playoff team. Because we have to, we're going to talk about the Joe Burrow injury, and we're going to talk about which teams' fan bases are already giving up on the season on the team. Along with more, you guys know I love defense, so we're going to talk defense too. Welcome back, or welcome to America's Sports. I was on vacation, so I wasn't able to give you guys some videos in week 1 or week 2. We picked a hell of a time to go on vacation, I know, but we are all the way back, and the NBA season is just around the corner too, so videos are going to start coming out, fellas. Let's get into some football. Which 2-0 teams do you think are contenders, playoff teams, or straight up pretenders? Let me know in the comment section below. Look, it's super early still, that is obvious, but we've got a lot of data on teams that start 2-0. When you look at last year, there were 8 teams that started 2-0. 7 of them made the postseason, only Seattle did not. In 2023, 6 of the 8 2-0 teams made the postseason. And then in 2022, all 5 2-0 teams made the playoffs. So if you start 2-0, even though it is just a couple of games, you're already ahead of the other teams by a pretty good margin, and the statistics back that up. So that means of the last 3 years, that's 18 of the 21 teams that started 2-0 made the playoffs. That's an 85, almost 86% success rate. So this is why I bring it up. Yes, starting 2-0 is a big fucking deal. It's kind of a big deal. However, here in this year is where you run into a couple of problems. As this year, there are more 2-0 teams than there have been in years. There are 10, and 3 of them are in the same division. So one of them is probably going to be a pretender, right? If you just took our percentile, 85.7%, that means out of these 10 2-0 teams, there's at least one that's not going to make the postseason, and about a 50-50 shot that a second team will not make the postseason. So if you're a fan of one of these 10 teams, man, good for you, man. I'm happy for you. Unless you're like me and you're a Bengals fan. We'll get to that. Okay, we've got the really good, happy statistics and the good news all out of the way, but what about the flip side of that? What about these teams that are 0-2? So, technically, people are right when your team loses week 1 and everyone says, hey, it's just the first game, let's relax. But it's when your team loses the first 2 games in a row where fans have right to be a little bit pessimistic. If you are a fan of one of these teams that are 0-2 right now, week 3 is going to be the most important game no matter who you are playing right now. I mean, if you want your team to make the postseason. Because if you're starting 0-3, history ain't on your side on this one. Since 1990, only 2.4% of 0-3 teams have even made the playoffs, and not a one of them has won the Super Bowl. But if your team can win in week 3, things improve drastically. So history shows us that 1-2 compared to 0-3 is so different that it really can be make or break. Because since 1990, about 25% of teams that start 1-2 end up making the playoffs. And there's been one good example of this of the last 3 seasons. My 2022 Bengals started 0-2 and yet made the AFC Championship that year. The next year, the Philadelphia Eagles started 1-2, yet they finished 11-6. And then the Denver Broncos last year also started 1-2, and they would go on to win 6 of their next 8 games after that and made the playoffs in Bo Nix's rookie year. So let's get into who is done after week 3 and who still has hopes. And yeah, for me, it's the obvious. Kansas City Chiefs are the ones that are not quite dead. I do think with their backs against the wall on Sunday Night Football, they're going to beat another 0-2 team in the Giants this weekend. And then if you win week 3, here are the numbers for what happens to you for week 4, win or loss. The only other 0-2 team that I think is not completely dead is the Houston Texans, because we're still pretty unsure about how the AFC South is going to go overall. However, the rest of these 0-2 teams, they kind of are who we thought they were going into this year, at least for me. For Miami, they might have more talent than, say, the Jets or the Panthers or the Saints, but for whatever reason, they're just not with it this year. We heard on the Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football broadcast last night that the Dolphins' season is not over, but history says that it is, and I think that it is too. I mean, through 3 weeks, every team has put up 31 or more on you. You're giving up over 32 points per game. I mean, that's just not going to work. As for the Giants, I want to say that they are better than these other 0-2 teams, but the season is kind of lost already for them too. 2 division losses already. Not to mention, it's a division that I think is really good. I don't really understand why people think the Dallas Cowboys are not a good football team. They are. And as I stated a minute ago, I think they are going to lose to Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. And that's just going to be a really hard thing to come down from. The one good thing for them is that Russell Wilson is starting to find his way. I mean, the guy's with a different team every year, let alone a different coordinator. So I kind of figured it was going to be a slow start in week 1. But he's starting to find his rhythm now. It's just, it could be too little, too late. We may see Jackson Dart before this thing is over with. All right, let's move on to the 2-0 teams that could be pretending a little bit. My meaning for pretender is a team that is not actually going to make the postseason. And as of right now, if I had to choose a team from the NFC West that was the pretender, it would be Arizona, because we know that they've had good starts before. To be completely honest with you, I do think this is a better Arizona team than of the last couple of seasons. And you can only beat who's on the schedule, but so far they've played 2 teams that were never had playoff hopes to begin with, really. The Arizona is making a big effort into changing the defense. They signed guys, and they drafted a ton of defense in this past draft. But we still got to see it done in the winter. We still got to see, Kyler Murray beat the Rams. Yeah, he beat them last year, but he's 2-8 all time against the LA Rams. And in 4 of those games, he did not throw a touchdown. This is the hardest segment for me when it comes to predicting things this week, because I actually had Arizona as one of those teams that you should not be sleeping on. And it's possible that they get the win in San Fran and put them ahead and make the playoffs. I'm just saying, if I have to choose one team right now, it's probably them or it is the Niners. But I know the team that all the rest of you guys are thinking of. So without any further ado, let's get to the Cincinnati Bengals. It's time for a potentially great take. Brought to you by the Armchair Army's Tactical Snacks. Eat and comment responsibly. Before you start getting out the Homer pitchforks, I want you to know that most of the people here in Cincinnati don't think we're making the playoffs. However, and I know this is a crazy take, somehow, no, I don't think the season is over. Now, winning in the postseason is a different matter, and it all comes down to if Joe Burrow can come back this season or not, really. Did things just get a lot harder? Oh, hell yeah. It's going to be very hard to get into the postseason now. But a lot of people are saying, wrap it up, it's over. And I just don't think that's accurate, man. I think they can make the playoffs. I think Jake Browning is one of, if not the best backup quarterback. No one thought that the Bengals were going to make the playoffs 2 years ago, including myself. And they did not, but they did get a hell of a lot closer than people were giving them credit for, at least at first when Burrow went down. We've also got, for my money, the best wide receiver in football and a damn good receiving core overall. And since 2021, the man who leads the NFL in fourth quarter sacks, Trey Hendrickson. That's why you give him a raise, and that's why you pay him next year, in my opinion. And all of that does count for something. And when you look at the Bengals week 3, they're playing a team that also is on their backup quarterback. There's always potential that other teams get star quarterbacks hurt as well. Standings and power rankings, the entire landscape could look completely different a month from now, hell, even a couple weeks from now. That being said, if I were forced to choose a second team of the 2-0 teams that is not going to make the playoffs, it would be the Cincinnati Bengals. Shout out to my longtime friend whose name is also Ty. He gave me a pretty crazy stat today. 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen that started in the Bengals Super Bowl a few years ago, that was the last game that they played in the NFL. I'm just saying the possibilities are there. It's not dead. In my last segment here, I wanted to talk a little bit of defense, and I want to talk the 3 best teams right here. The Philadelphia Eagles are the Super Bowl champs, so until someone knocks them off, they are my number 1 for right now. But the Green Bay Packers look for real. I've been on the hype train since before week 1, and I'm on the hype train even more now. You were able to slow down two teams in Washington and Detroit who both seemingly at times just run at will. And even after playing both of those teams, you're still number 2 at rushing yards allowed per game. That's monstrous. And then number 3 to me is the Buffalo Bills. They are the class of the AFC, but for me right now, the 2 best teams are in the NFC. And the best 1-1 team is the Baltimore Ravens. There's no doubt about that. Be on the lookout for a lot more. I can't believe it. We're in week 3 and I haven't even done any predictions for big prime times games yet. That was a big theme for last year and we did pretty well, didn't we? But anyways, guys, that's it and you'll see me in the next one.